Take it there? Who gon' take it there? Who gon' take it there? Who gon' take it there? Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
I hadn't realized Bill Burr had a new special coming out until you mentioned it yesterday. And immediately the cynical part of me went, oh, that's why he's been saying all these supposedly controversial things in interviews and stuff lately. Right? That's like from the Kanye West playbook. You say some really controversial things that gets you a bunch of, you know, quote unquote bad press, and then drop an album and it blows up. I don't know if he's the type to really do that necessarily. Definitely worked out well for him though. Or I guess we'll see what the numbers do, but it is good timing on it. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know, like I said, I don't know if he's the type to do it. And even if he is, like, I agree with the things he's been saying and they've been pretty funny. Right. So I'll roll with it, you know. I watched it. It's pretty good, actually. I enjoyed it, at least. Bill Burr, he's the type that, like, I've always had a weird relationship with, because he seems like, from the outside, you just look at him and look at some of his old stuff particularly, it's very, like, traditionally toxic masculinity. Like, he comes at it from that angle, like the traditional old school guy, you know, that 70s, raised in the 70s vibe, you know, but he comes at it from a left perspective on most things, which is a pretty rare thing to see. But you see a lot of comics trying to do it these days, and they end up falling just squarely left, like, or I mean, right. They act like they're coming at it from a leftist view, with like just interested in freedoms and stuff like that. And about freedom of speech, and comedians should be able to say whatever, but a lot of times it just comes up, you know, saying some really jackass, bigoted things, and like wanting to be able to say, you know, stuff's gay, or, you know, use the R word. That's somehow always what it ends up being. But Bill Burr's stuff's usually a little more cerebral, a little deeper than that, and pretty funny. So he walks that line that they try to, but does it successfully, at least in my opinion, most of the time. This special, it was a little disappointing, but I think part of that's me being burnt out on stand-up comedy in general, and these traditional stand-up specials, at least. It's tough because what else, you know, our stand-up's gonna do? So I don't know if it's like these are getting, you know, a little stale, or if, you know, my time with them is done necessarily. But I did enjoy it.
I don't know if he did the whole, like, purposely, you know, saying a bunch of crazy stuff to get some attention on him. I think it seems pretty clear. I mean, the timing is uncanny. I think what probably happened is he started getting some attention for saying that stuff. What probably was more completely staged was the whole Billy Corgan and what's his name, Howard Mandel drama, where Howie Mandel had Bill Burr and Billy Corgan on, and then they talk about how did you know, like, is it true that you guys are actually brothers? And Bill Burr is, like, offended by it, because he's like, yeah, I don't like talking about my personal life, and you know, it's kind of fucked up for you to bring me on here. And I think that might have been staged, because I don't know if it makes any sense. I don't know if those two guys are actually brothers. They do look alike. I think it might have just been more of a bit. So I don't know. I think that's probably where the staged, you know, thing happened. And then from there, he probably was just talking his shit. And when he started getting some attention for it, he leaned into it, you know. So I doubt he started saying the stuff about Luigi Mangione and all that because he wanted to get attention, but I doubt he shied away from the attention. And he probably just said it off the cuff, because he does his podcast all the time anyway. And then it picked up steam, and he was like, oh, okay, fuck it, I'll just lean into that. So I'm still glad he did it. But then, you know, he had like the New York Times interview, you know, got a write-up. So I think he just has publicists working behind the scenes that are kind of like setting up the rollout for this special. So it doesn't take that much away from it for me, but it does make it easier for people like Ben Shapiro to look at it and be like, oh, he's just fucking, see, it was all fake for the camera. So, you know, I like the special. I thought that he does a good job, I think, of straddling the line where he says some things that are offensive, or you know, uses certain like words or descriptions of people in a callous way. But you can also see the thing I like about Bill, that I think is appealing about Bill to us wokes, is that he genuinely seems to have that little bit of like empathy inside him. Like he seems motivated by empathy. And I talked about this the last time I talked about Bill Burr. I'm not sure if you were on that episode or not, but he, you know, it's like he seems motivated by genuine empathy. And when he says these things, even about Luigi Mangione and Brian Thompson, the guy who got shot by Luigi Mangione, it's like, as crass as it is to say that, you know, billionaires need to be put down by like rabid dogs, it's like, that it comes from a place of empathy at the same time for him to say that, and that's profound. There's something profound happening there in terms of class consciousness, where you are able to almost weaponize your empathy in that way, feel empathy in such a strong way that you have such harsh words for people who are so unempathetic. And I don't know. I mean, many people would take issue with that way of putting it, but also most people, I think, are still favorable toward Luigi Mangione. So it's like, I think most people are on Bill's side about that. And I think mostly throughout this special, that was the case as well, where it's like he might have had some like, you know, some flops here and there or some really good jokes here and there, but it was all motivated by the same sort of Bill Burr brand of empathy. And I really like that about him.
It's definitely not as far right as the new Bill Maher special, which I did watch most of to really go in-depth research for the Bill Burr special. But Bill Maher's completely off the deep end. I mean, he has been for a long time with just being a real piece of shit. Bill Burr still, you know, is a good guy, is funny in general. Just, I don't know if I expected more from his special. I'm not the kind of person that expects there to be like any kind of message. I really hate that cliche about comedians being like the modern day philosophers. But of course, like that, even like hating that cliche is so old. It's a cliche now. And like, it feels pretentious to not like stand up again, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't expect it to be groundbreaking or anything like that. But these days, I feel like if you are doing a special, there should be a little something more. I don't know. Maybe I'm just asking for too much out of stand-up. It is just fucking stand-up.
It seems like, you know, there's only so much room, you know, to speak to the whole philosophical angle of comedy or whatever. There's only so much room to, I guess, be the like old shouting white guy in the room that still is profound. You know what I'm saying? He earns his keep in a sense. It's like that's the one thing that you can say about a lot of comedians, not all of them, because comedy is definitely oversaturated right now. But with a guy like Bill Burr, it's like he earned his spot on your screen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the things he's saying for the most part are worth listening to. And I like it when a guy like him, you know, who doesn't fit the like, you know, diversity quota or whatever, but he still speaks sharply enough that you want to hear what he says, and he has enough of an analysis. He's not just coming from an old white guy perspective, and I think that's why he's relatable to a lot of people. So overall, I thought the special was okay. You know, I think it's worth a watch, but like you said, there's nothing that profound going on there either. You know what I mean? I don't think he changed the game of comedy, but I think with such a stark lack of any voices like George Carlin or Bill Hicks, it is nice to see somebody like Bill Burr kind of filling that space a little bit. He doesn't really fill those shoes. He's not as much of a genius as George Carlin. He's not quite as enlightened as Bill Hicks. But, you know, he's getting there. He's got an interesting perspective, and he's a smart guy. And so I do think he fills that space a little bit, and we need that.
He did seem more peppy and less pessimistic than normal. Like, peppy in, like, almost a sophomoric way. Not in... I don't know. Some of his jokes seemed a little... just less cerebral, I guess, than I've come to expect from him. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a little fun with it, too. I just expected a little more, I guess, if he's recording an hour. I hate to keep returning to that, but, I mean, That's like the only real criticism I could have of it, I guess.
It's also funny that in your list, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but all the guys that you mentioned were all Bills. And I like the idea of like taking the temperature of old white guys by checking in on the Bills. You know what I mean? Let me talk to the Bills. Okay. All right. Bill Maher, very right wing. Okay. Bill Burr, kind of drifting left. Okay. That's cool. Bill O'Reilly, how you doing over there? I like that. The Bills are probably the best way for us to take the temperature of white America.